This was the most expensive problem in ancient history. And not just expensive in money, expensive in lives, stability, and entire civilizations. More empires collapsed because of this single issue than because of enemy armies, invasions, or battlefield defeats. Not strategy, not courage, not even leadership. Money. Or more precisely, the ability to keep paying the men holding the weapons. Empires did not fall because they lost wars. They fell because they could no longer afford their armies. And the moment payment stopped making sense, loyalty evaporated faster than ideology ever could. Welcome to The Financial Historian, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. War was never just about battles. Before banks, before income taxes, before central banks, before government bonds, every empire faced the same brutal question. How do you keep hundreds of thousands of armed men fed, equipped, and loyal, year after year? Soldiers don't fight on principles alone. They fight because they expect something in return. Security for their families, social status, land, or cold, hard payment. Once armies stopped being temporary militias and became permanent institutions, war stopped being a tactical problem. It became a payroll problem. Ancient states could not print money at will. They could not run permanent deficits. There was no lender of last resort waiting in the shadows. If the treasury ran dry, that was it. Which meant every empire had to anchor its military power to something real. Metal pulled from the earth, land taken by force, labor extracted from conquered populations. These systems weren't abstract ideas. They shaped entire societies. They decided who paid, who benefited, and who suffered when things went wrong. Rome, the empire built on silver. No empire understood this better or pushed it further than Rome. At its height, the Roman Empire maintained around 400,000 soldiers spread across 3 continents. This was not just an army, it was a permanent institution. Every soldier expected regular wages, bonuses, retirement benefits, and often land after service. This was not generosity. This was the cost of keeping the empire alive. Rome's borders didn't hold because of patriotism. They held because soldiers were paid, reliably, at least in the beginning. The denarius, metal that held an empire together. The backbone of Roman military pay was silver, not promises, not paper, actual metal. The denarius. This coin powered everything. Soldiers were paid in it, taxes were collected in it, trade depended on it, and Roman authority was stamped directly onto its surface. But silver does not appear out of thin air. Rome needed vast quantities of it, and that requirement quietly dictated Roman expansion. Why Rome conquered Spain. The conquest of Hispania, modern Spain, was not just about prestige or defense. It was about silver mines. Some of the richest silver deposits in the known world were there. These mines didn't just enrich Rome, they financed its legions. Rome literally dug its army out of the ground. As long as silver flowed, soldiers trusted their pay, merchants trusted Roman coins, taxes moved smoothly, trade expanded, and order was enforced. Money, force, and authority formed a closed loop. When geology fought back. But geology has limits. By the 2nd century, the easy silver was gone, mining became expensive, campaigns grew costlier, borders expanded faster than revenue. Rome faced a structural problem, and instead of solving it, they chose the oldest financial illusion in history, debasement, the quiet betrayal. The denarius still looked the same stamp, same emperor, same authority. But slowly, quietly, the silver content was reduced. A little copper here, a little alloy there. On paper, soldiers were paid the same. In reality, their purchasing power was shrinking. At first, no one noticed. Then prices rose. Merchants demanded more coins, soldiers complained. The state raised wages, using even worse coins, which caused more inflation, higher taxes, more pressure on farmers and workers. Inflation didn't arrive as a disaster. It arrived as compromise after compromise. Each one reasonable, each one necessary. Together, they hollowed out the system. When the army realized the truth, the Roman army adapted faster than civilians. They demanded bonuses. Emperors who failed to pay were removed, sometimes violently. Loyalty shifted, not to Rome, but to whoever controlled the treasury. The army stopped serving the state began serving the army. Meanwhile, farmers were crushed by taxes, Trade destabilized, savings lost value. Trust collapsed. Rome didn't fall because it abandoned silver. It fell because it depended on it too much. The 3rd century collapse. By the 3rd century, the denarius was nearly pure copper. Soldiers were paid in food and land. The economy fragmented. Central authority weakened. The empire that conquered the Mediterranean with silver coins began collapsing under its own payroll. If denial won medals, Roman policymakers would still be on the podium. Rome was not unique, just early. The pattern repeated everywhere. Different banners, different tools, same logic. Assyria, war that paid for itself. The Assyrian Empire paid its soldiers with conquest. No salary system, no monetary illusion, plunder was payment. Cities were destroyed, populations deported, land redistributed. This was not cruelty. It was economic design. But when expansion slowed, the system collapsed. No conquest meant no pay. Rebellion followed. Islamic caliphates, expansion as revenue. Early Islamic states funded armies through taxes on conquered lands. As long as borders expanded, revenue grew, soldiers stayed loyal. When expansion slowed, costs rose, unity fractured. Growth was not optional, it was required. China, administration over money. Han China built armies without relying on coins. Payment came as grain, cloth, forced labor. The system was efficient, but brutally demanding. When administrative control weakened, it failed. Aztecs, tribute as payroll. The Aztec military was rewarded with tribute. Food, textiles, captives. Highly organized, highly efficient, but fragile. When tribute stopped, collapse was instant. The real lesson: armies are never paid with abstractions. They are paid with metal, land, labor, or lives. Whatever pays the army shapes society. Why this matters today. Modern states claim this problem is solved. Budgets, bonds, deficits. But the logic hasn't changed. Inflation today does what debasement did in Rome. It funds power quietly. It transfers wealth silently. It protects those closest to money creation. Empires don't fall suddenly. They erode. Trust first, then stability, then cohesion. Understanding this is not academic. It is financial self-defense. Because if you don't understand how money flows toward power, you will feel history repeat itself without ever knowing why.